This is just a quick one. Just talking about how to make lessons a bit more interesting, how to spice them up a little bit, so that your child is going to be, always wanting to learn.
Yeah, I mean, really what we want to do with RPM is to inspire a love of learning, a natural curiosity, a natural, desire to want to learn more.
And, the way we present topics will really impact upon a person's preferences. We all had that teacher at school that was just amazing, and I hated science at school, but then I had this amazing teacher and I love science. So the way you present a topic is really going to kind of make a difference with how your student feels about that topic.
So, I mean, some general things that we learned from watching Soma work with my son and then with other children during her workshops. We analysed her sessions and we watched what she did, and we saw that one thing that she always used was lots of sensory activities whenever she could. What do we mean by sensory activities? Well, oh my God, the models and things that Soma was able to create were just absolutely amazing, weren't they?
Yeah.
She could talk about a topic and then there would be a model of a pyramid or whatever
Mountains,
would be created, mountains, and they'd be stuck on the paper.
And sometimes it's the most simple thing as well. Like I remember watching Soma do a lesson where she was talking about someone going fishing, and this was a fishing rod. Yeah. She got some sellotape to kind of be the line. And then she had all these kind of little bits of paper to act as the fish, and she was going. But it just made it come to life, though. It really did.
Yeah, I can remember doing a session where I used this was the spear.
Yeah.
And the men were in the river trying to catch the fish, and there's the fish, and
you can poke it through like this. You got the fish.
You know what? Actually, I find that incorporating a sensory activity like that in a lesson really makes it fun. I enjoy doing it, and I have a laugh at how ridiculously hard I find to make something that looks realistic. But actually, I think what you're doing is you're also helping to build the child's imaginative and creative skills when you do this. So it's a win-win situation.
Just a final thing to add about sensory activities, really great for engaging all of the sensory channels and all of the learning channels. So it's going to be engaging a kinesthetic channel because you're moving while you're creating it. Tactile channel, you might even get your child involved in doing something. The visual channel is going to be engaged kind of in a kinesthetic way too, because something's being created. And then obviously all the auditory sound as well. So it's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win situation. Another point is you can make your lessons a bit more interesting by building a bit of intrigue as you go along. Now, typical kind of teaching methods tell you that you should kind of give all of the information at the start. So today we're going to learn about the water cycle, and that the water cycle is this and the water cycle is this. And then at the start of the lesson you're kind of like, oh. But what we loved about Soma was when we first saw her, like she kind of like unravelled a little bit of information at a time, like kind of peeling a layer off an onion, so that with each kind of new bit of information you're kind of like, ooh, what's she going to say next? Ooh. She'd be like, oh, and it was so interesting how it happened. You'd be like, what happened? Tell me. And it was really clever, and she'd use all of these kind of phrases like oh, you wouldn't believe, and I never knew this, and it was like, whoa,
and guess what?
What? And so you have to think about that when you're planning your lessons. You want to do it in quite a narrative way. So I remember a lesson when I really started to try and kind of get into this narrative style. It was a kind of a sciencey lesson about the bottom of an ocean. And I think I started like deep in the Atlantic Ocean. And it was like, ooh, but as soon as you say that, though, you kind of get into this like zone rather than like, today we're going to learn about the bottom of the ocean. It's like, oh, but deep, the bottom of the ocean, an interesting creature lives.
Which is it?
It's like, oh, so you want to build that intrigue throughout. And that's as well why when you're just doing like I guess like a chunk of information at a time, you have that chance to build the intrigue as you go along, because you're saying something and your child's doing something, and then they're kind of like, ooh. So you have that chance to build it as you go along. An obvious one is actually just showing enthusiasm to inspire this love of learning. Now this is something that some people find hard in RPM, because we're used to in life showing enthusiasm for our faces by looking at each other like, oh, it was so great. Based on all these gestures.
And we want the reaction from the child as well.
Yes.
And this is what I find constantly with new parents who are learning RPM all the time. It's like, show me that you like it. Show me you're enjoying yourself. I want to see you smile.
I'm so interesting.
Yeah. And we don't want that in RPM. We want the focus to be there on the work.
Yes. So how can you do that then? So we're not kind of aiming to have all of this kind of excitement on the face. You really have to use your voice in a clever way. So changing your tone a lot, louder moments, quieter moments, faster moments, slower moments. So you have to kind of really start exercising your voice. There's nothing worse than listening to somebody that's, today we're learning about... And also you're kind of adding a bit more emphasis on the important words as well. So, if I was talking about, the creature at the bottom of the ocean, I say, oh, a very interesting creature lives there. It's like, ooh. Rather than a very interesting creature lives there. It's like...
Yeah, so you need to create your lesson plan and your notes so that you're able to deliver it in a way which is not robotic reading from them. So, break it down into key chunks, and then you can quickly look at your note, and you can put it into your own words. Ooh, today we're going to talk about a mystery. What is a mystery? Is it something that you know the answer to, or that you might have to figure it out, And one, just a practical thing that I bought when we started in RPM with Chris, I don't remember Alex, but I bought a music stand we stood at the side of the table that we were sort of presenting to Christopher at, and we had our notes, and we still do, on the music stand at the side, so we can be glancing up at our notes and talking to Christopher here, and that works quite well.
Yeah, it keeps the table a bit more clutter free as well, because otherwise you end up having all of these kind of bits and bobs and you're like, ugh. Yeah, so that does make it easier. Also, to do lessons where you're kind of really going beyond the surface. A lot of sessions that you tend to see would be long chapters or the whole page in a book that really kind of skate over all of the detail. It's far better to kind of pick up a paragraph and explore all of the keywords and kind of really go into depth and detail, so that your child's actually going to come away with some understanding as well, rather than Antarctica seems like a cold place that people have visited. You'd rather than get oh, let's talk about icebergs. You choose something quite specific that you can really get your teeth into. All right.
I think that's it.
Add any comments below about ways that you make your lessons interesting. No, I'm just joking. You can though.